Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining in on the American Barbell podcast, American Barbell Unleashed. I'm sitting here today with Brittany Diamond.
Hi.
I met Brittany, I guess it's been about 2 or 3 years. It was at the...
It'll be 3 years.
Was it at the Arnold?
It was at the Olympia. The year it was in Las Vegas, 2023? 22. Yes, because I'd been here for a few months.
Got it. And that was an event put on by Stan Efferding, wasn't it?
Yes, it was the Rhino Cage at the Olympia, which was just a fun lifting event.
Yeah, it was eye-opening for me. A lot of great athletes, strong athletes. And I had no idea because I had spent a lot of time in the commercial gym world and the Olympic weightlifting world. In that powerlifting world, I never understood how different it was, right? It was really cool. So I met you. I remember I was impressed by the 315 squat 18 times.
Yes. Oh, good memory.
Good memory there. And I remember meeting Sierra Cho that deadlifted 600.
That was amazing. Yeah, it was such a fun day.
Quite an eye-opener. So anyway, so you've evolved from powerlifting to now you're on the road to Olympia. Tell us a little bit about what you've got going on.
Yeah, so I actually started as a track and field athlete when I was younger, ended up going to college for Division I rowing, where I fell in love with the barbell. And somewhere along the way, I stumbled upon strongman. And a lot of people think powerlifting is strongman. It's actually totally different. Like, yes, we lift stuff, but it's more lifting odd, weird objects and moving them from point A to point B as fast as we can. So I like to think it's a little bit more athletic. So yeah, I graduated University of Rhode Island in 2014. I moved to a certain area in Boston where they had a gym that I loved and threw myself headfirst into strongman, ended up turning pro in 2017 at the Arnold's, did a couple of pro shows where I placed first in I turned pro in 2015. 2017, I placed first, and then I placed third a couple times. And lots of injuries in strongman. I've had wrist replacement, lots of back stuff. And then I started transitioning over to bodybuilding and women's physique a couple years ago. And then when I moved to Las Vegas, I actually retired. I thought I was just done. I was like, I'm going to try to find what my second mountain is, prove myself more as an educator and a coach. I felt like my body was kind of tired. I had a really bad knee injury, which I actually finally just got fixed. I had surgery 9 weeks ago. But now I'm back in it. I competed last year for bodybuilding. When I actually met you, that was just something fun for me.
Right.
I said, you know what? I always need a reason to train. I knew I needed knee surgery. And my goal for that day was to do 315 times 20. However, 10 days before that, my knee just couldn't handle the high bar back squat. It was crunchy. I knew my meniscus was torn. So we switched to a different technique, which made it very challenging. If you watch the video, which we'll have to find to show.
Oh, yeah, we need a clip of that.
Every rep was ugly.
Of the 18 reps?
Yes.
And I remember Bill Cohn, for those of you guys that should know Bill Cohn, maybe the most famous power lifter on the face of the earth. Great guy. And he was standing on the sideline cheering you on. And it was a great event. I remember that.
Yeah. And that's where I first used the Chewy bar. And I was like, I didn't know you were the owner at the time. I thought you were just, a fan watching. And I was like, the bar didn't fall off my back. I was so excited. And Ciara was like, it didn't fall out of my hands. And then you gifted us. It was like the coolest thing because at that point, you didn't know this, but I did not want to stay in Las Vegas. I just didn't like it. I missed my family. I missed my strength community. And I was trying to get rid of any possessions I had. And then you were like, you know what? Have this Chewy barbell. So I was like, all right. And that started my gym collection. And I guess I didn't know it at the time, but that started me not wanting to leave Las Vegas.
So is your family in the East Coast?
My family's all from the Boston area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that. That was a great bar. We had just launched it at the time. And I remember asking Bill Cohn what his opinion was on knurl and I'm not a lifter, I'm a design manufacturing guy, but of course I know the sport from watching enough.
Have to, yeah.
And I remember asking him, there's always a debate on knurl for power lifters. And, a lot of power lifters want neuro that just tears your hands apart. And I knew he was the guy to ask. And he said, nope. He said, it's perfect. It feels great. And anybody that wants one super sharp, tearing your hands up, are usually trying to compensate for weak grip strength. I said, good to know.
Yes.
Love education. So anyway, so what are you doing now with the transition? What is your daily routine? Where are you headed now?
Yes, great question. So last year, I decided to come out of retirement and I was like, you know what? Let me just see if I have another bodybuilding show in me. So I prepped for 20 weeks, which was a long prep because I started a little bit, not the body composition I would have loved to have been. I kind of just was living life more like a regular person. Like I was still training 4 days a week, but I was not, bringing my meals with me everywhere. And I actually stopped lifting upper body for a little while. I joke, call it a normal person. I wanted to see if I could fit into normal clothes. So I gave up upper body for 9 months. And then, I still did posterior because I still was doing pull-ups and stuff on my day, but I really wanted to grow my lower body. I'm naturally actually a very, very skinny person. So putting on muscle, yes, genetically, I'm gifted in the sense I can put on muscle, but keeping it and eating is a job for me, for sure. Right. So did a 20-week prep, ended up falling in love with it again in the process. I was like, wow.
Bodybuilding, you're talking about.
Yeah, so women's physique is,
okay.
So I won the overall at Legions, which is in Reno. And that gave me the confidence because that whole prep, I was kind of like, all right, let me see if I still have it. I'm not sure. And then I won the overall. And then I was like, okay, my competitiveness is turned on. It's funny because I told my partner, I was like, we've been dating for a year and a half and you've never seen the athlete in me. You've seen my lifestyle as an athlete, but you haven't seen the competitive Brittany Diamond in me. And he was like, okay, I'm ready for it. And he even jokes, he's like, I see why you're a professional. He's like, you execute and nothing gets in your way, but that can be kind of hard to live with all the time.
The dedication is incredible. You think about what's required.
So really funny. So yes, won the overall and that qualified me for nationals, which was 16 weeks later. Now, I noticed my physique. So in bodybuilding, there is several levels, starting with bikini, figure, wellness, women's physique, and women's bodybuilding. I noticed that I was starting to look more like a bodybuilder, my shape, and a lot of my friends that are professional bodybuilders here said, like, you naturally have this shape about you. You're a tall girl. I was like 180 pounds on stage, lean. So I started doing my poses more towards bodybuilding. And then 4 days out of nationals, I decided to sign up for both classes to see where the judges thought I would fit. And that's what I'm doing again right now. I just started prep. I'm only 5 days into it. I spent some time building this past year and I got my knee repaired, which I wish I had just done sooner because it wasn't that big of a deal.
Made all the difference in the world.
Not all the difference in the world. I'm still fighting to get my mobility back and working around it. But the everyday pain that I was in for 3 years is much, much, much better. So I'm happy with that. So right now I am currently 101 days out, 14 weeks out from the Olympia amateur. So my goal is to win a pro card because last year I couldn't do the Olympia amateur. It was my brother's wedding. And 2 girls that I beat at Legions, they won. Wow. Top 2 get their pro card. So I was like, I know I belong up there. And then my goal is to, get a pro card, hopefully. And a month later, they have a pro show here right in Las Vegas. So then I want to see where I stack against the best because I'm not a professional bodybuilder yet. I'm a professional strongman, but it's the same mindset.
Man or woman?
Woman, I guess, yeah.
Strong woman beating strong men.
It's the same mindset for any professional athlete. It's, going to be a little crazy, have that passion and intensity. So that's where I'm currently at.
Yeah, that's interesting because the back and forth and changing the sport, if you will, or the model that you're chasing, it's like that's a challenge because strong woman, strong man, you want to be big and strong. Mm-hmm. And physique, obviously, now you're sculpting.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Much different.
Mm-hmm, much different.
Now, is the routine that much different? I mean, I guess it would be. You're probably not lifting all the heavy weight when you're trying to sculpt, correct?
Yeah, so the routine, obviously, so when I was strongman training, I spent a lot more time in the gym because I was constantly almost like an engineer trying to figure out the best way to move an object from point A, point B. I would analyze film like I was a football player. I would slow-mo, see where my finger was at, count steps, measure everything. Very, very, I'm very type A. I execute. So I was sometimes at the gym on Saturdays or Sundays for like 6-7 hours between setting up equipment, breaking down, analyzing film, practicing steps, things like that. With bodybuilding, like, yes, I'm doing cardio more. But I'm pretty much, my longest gym session is my leg day, which is maybe 2 hours. So a lot less time in the gym, but a lot more time dedicated to posing. Posing is very challenging for me because I had never really looked in a mirror before.
Yeah, I can see.
Before with Strongman. Strongman gyms don't even have mirrors.
It's interesting too, because once you get muscle, then how do you lose size and sculpt? Because you got to still lift weights, because we all know you can't just stop lifting and going on a diet, because then people start to get flabby. You start to lose that firmness, right?
Yeah.
So that's a challenge, because aren't you dropping weight too?
No, so I was a middleweight strongman, so I could never my weight category was below 180. And if you look at all middleweight professional strongwomen, we actually all look like we're about 14 weeks out from a bodybuilding show, because again, we're not powerlifting. We are literally running, sometimes for max distances with heavy objects. So we're very well conditioned. The biggest difference, like you said, sculpting, is if I look at old pictures of my physique, I naturally kind of always had a small waist. I guess I was lucky in that sense, but I still do have the biggest traps. And when I first started bodybuilding, looking at my physique, it was overpowering. So it looked like my lats were small, and because my traps were so big. And in bodybuilding, you want to have a pretty, like the X frame, nice big shoulders, small waist, then have that quad sweep. I was also, which I think is really interesting, much stronger then than I am now, but I look stronger now because of the hypertrophy and like honing in on my weaknesses. So my legs, I could squat 315 for 18, but I didn't necessarily have a quad sweep. So now it's like I'm doing the higher reps, more hypertrophy, which is a lot easier on the joints too.
I bet you think about 315, 18 times, that's a lot of weight. And I mean, the fatigue towards the end, right? But I imagine it helps when everybody's cheering in the background, yelling, "Go, Brittany."
Yeah, the camaraderie is great. I mean, at the end of the day, I do this for myself. I've had lifting experiences where I've had to be alone training, but having a nice crowd is always, more motivating.
A lot of fun. Well, that's great. When I first met you, I was, you were like so many that didn't know who American Barbell was and what we were about. And you've had a chance to play with it and train with it.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on the product, and what do you like that you see in our training center? And give us some feedback about what you like about what we do.
Yeah. So I'm really lucky too, because when I first met you guys, I was more of a strength athlete. So I was utilizing your barbells, your racks. We did a fun content shoot where we had forklifts and we were dropping the weights from, I don't know, what was it, like 20 feet in the air? Yeah. It was funny because then you wanted me to clean 315. And I was like, Phil, I can't clean 315, not today. So we were just dropping it from the barbell. So that was cool. And then I had the pleasure of going to a few different expos with you all. And it was nice because I played a college sport. I've been around so many various types of equipment. And what stands out to me the most about American Barbell is, it might sound a little cliche, but it's honestly like a family. Like, you actually care about the products and everyone. You gave me a tour, everything. So I see the time and energy and everything that goes, I know the backstory. Right. And I think that's what I'm hoping to get out more with American Barbell. But now that I'm in more bodybuilding prep, it's fun because, once a month I film content here and I get to play with all the toys. And your leg press, for example, I could leg press on the leg press, no weight, 2 weeks after surgery, because you're able to change it. You're able to change every setting you can possibly imagine, from the handle, the platform, the depth. It's just very obvious the detail you put into the equipment. And now that I'm bodybuilding, that is more important.
You can appreciate. Yeah, you know, the new leg press that we're introducing right now with that adjustable foot plate, I wasn't sure we wanted to go down that path, and everybody has gravitated towards that adjustment.
Yes, you have to keep that.
So yeah, it's interesting. And, we do a lot of tweaks when you talk about care. When we were first evaluating that piece, we wanted to look at the prototypes and make sure there weren't any trip hazards. I'm big on safety. And I always tell people when they ask me how I design equipment, I always design equipment around how can somebody get hurt? And, because lawsuits are so big. How can it break and how can somebody get hurt? Because I've always been a commercial manufacturer and, a lot of people don't get the punishment that this stuff goes through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's...
Yeah, punishment. That's a good word.
Oh, it's crazy. When you think about, people using those leg presses, I've seen the photos where, there's people with 1,000 pounds of plates and a 250-pound guy standing on the carriage on the top.
We should do something funny like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Want to be like press, Phil?
There you go. So anyway, yeah, I've watched some of the posts and I see that you're using some of the good heavy dumbbells. And is there anything else that I can help you do? Is there any products that are missing that I need to create?
So I would, again, this is the strongman in me, would love to see, because you guys have great sandbags, great heavy balls. I would love to see a yoke and farmer's handles, because I believe those are two strongman equipment that more people should be using to prevent injury. Because so many times people start lifting, they're using machines, which is fine for someone like me that has the foundation.
Right.
But I do think, when I used to be an in-person trainer, I would have older people do functional exercises like carry kettlebells. And I was like, you know what? They have more fun if they can just see themselves holding farmers. It gives them more confidence. Right. And it kind of has that, people want things that look fun. So I would love to see if maybe down the line you did some yoke or farmer's handles.
And that's easy stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's easy stuff. And what I like to do is I like to get the feedback. Like right now, we're in the middle of launching a new open trap bar.
Okay.
And excuse me, one of the things that the complaints of bars from the past, the sleeves weren't long enough to get enough plates on. Handles could be knurled in different areas besides the grips on the bar itself. So little things we're just tweaking. But it's input from people like yourself is how I like to make stuff. From the people that actually use it.
Yes, that's important.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, that's great. Yeah, we have a lot of new products that are coming out. And for the people that don't know, I started in that side of the world. So I started in plate-loaded equipment and weight stack. We call it selectorized equipment, where you use the pin and the weight. Mm-hmm. That's the world I started in the late 70s, all the way through the 90s. And then I jumped into waist bars and dumbbells. And then, of course, rack and rig and metal, and now all the little toys. And I'm so happy to know that plate load is on fire right now.
It is. It's because it's easy. It doesn't take up a lot of space.
A lot less money,
mm-hmm.
right? So how great that the hottest category in the world right now fits exactly what I do. I make weights.
There you go.
Right?
It's an omen.
So as far as motivation and everything, how do you stay, I'm curious, back to what you've got in front of you, how do you stay motivated to want to fight that battle to be so good for so long? How long can you keep it up?
Great question. And I'm 33 years old now. If you asked me this question in my 20s, I wanted to win for ego reasons. I wanted to have accolades. I wanted to be the best in the world. Now I see it more as a way to serve others, because I'm starting to get more vulnerable and share my background, share how I grew up, why I wanted to be strong, what true meaning of strength means to me, because if I can do it, I never know who I'm inspiring. I take a lot of pride. I do a lot of kids events around Vegas. I used to teach a kids lifting class.
That's great.
And the younger generation, helping them, but also helping older people. I have clients that were in their 40s and lifting weights gave them the confidence to
correct training,
get a divorce.
Really?
Get a job.
It's interesting.
It really is. So I believe it all is rooted in confidence. And that's what I love, helping people. And that's what drives me. Because again, if I can do it, so can they. Right. Also, I have dreams of becoming a mom myself. So I don't want to be selfish when it comes the right time in life to have a family. So I have, dreams that I still want to accomplish. Not that they'll be put on hold. I forever will be an athlete, but they might not be, I don't want to live my life like a bodybuilder when I'm have a newborn. Won't be able to do that. So,
it's interesting. So everything that you said is really, talk about cliche, everything that you've said is everything I'm about. I love education. The whole reason why I wanted to do this podcast channel and call it American Barbell Unleashed, because I'm so bottled up with education. I only can teach people what I know, and that's manufacturing some of the best, most durable strength equipment products in the world. I've done it my whole life, 47 years. But passion is so rare. And I see people that sell product. I see people that get involved in things, but only the best are the best, right?
Passion, that's my favorite word. And
I've been accused of it several times, of being passionate, neurotic. And also when you talk about the educational side of the things, the industry, that's where the opportunity is for me. It's hard for me to deal with all the smoke and mirror sales, podcasts, anything you want to call it, from people that are getting money to say something is good. Right? That's a tough one for me.
We should do a whole nother podcast episode on that topic, because I have a real hard time, being in my 30s and seeing social media. Social media is part of my job, which I am thankful for, because I've been able to work for myself for the past 5 years. However, there's a lot of experts, and I put experts in quotations because anyone with a voice can say something on the internet and people might believe it.
Right.
You really still have to do your research. So I like that you're making sure that whoever is involved with your brand truly is educated and has credentials, because as someone that has spent my life educating, I'm not like, I always call people out when they want to coach, and I'm like, why? Because you've competed.
Yeah.
What do you have? What do you know about a person's, training history, psychology, communication style? There's so much that goes into it.
Well, you'll love this comment that I throw at people. If I've got the attention of somebody that likes what we do and what I can tell them about how to build a safe Olympic bar, whatever it may be, I always will make a joke. If I have somebody like yourself side by side with me, we're talking to a potential client, and I'll say, well, Brittany, you got your degree to train in a weekend, didn't you, for a couple $1,000s? And of course, we're not going to say why I'm saying that, but I think a lot of us know. And that's the whole point. Look at the years you've spent. And if you look at what I do and you think about, making the first Olympic bar really commercially in 1998, now I'm at over 250,000 bars, all commercial produced. When I see companies that just jump on the scene that have been in the business about 30 minutes and they want the world to believe that they've been at it, they're pros, and it's like, come on. So that's why I gravitate so well to people like yourself, because you can't fool people that are knowledgeable.
Yeah. Well, right? Nothing great comes in 30 minutes, right? It takes years, like you said, to 250,000 barbells. You've made them, you've spent the time looking at them, touching them, building them,
watching
3D
how
models.
They perform, learning all the pitfalls. And again, it's like you can't accelerate time. And I tell people that all the time. That's why I've never been worried about competition, because I have so much time and I'm neurotic. And I studied my industry from the metallurgy part of it all the way down. And I love impressing a person like yourself or Bill Cohn or Sergio Oliva or anybody. I love it. That's what I live for. Right?
Gives you the rush.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, yeah, nothing great was built. Not a company, not a design, not an athlete, a body, anything like that. So
yeah, and I'll tell you, you touched on one other thing that I would tell you. You made an interesting comment about the youth. So two people that I know and respect, one lady, she passed away recently. Her name was Mercedes Dickerson, and she invented the high-tech plastic plate. She was friends with just about everybody in the Olympic side down, and she had never weightlifted in her life, and she started at 52. And within 2 years, she was the master's class world record holder.
Insane.
And she developed a plastic plate that was light. It was a technique plate. And when she met me, this is 2012 or 13, she was so impressed by what I was doing. And she said to me, it was so funny. She said, people think you just came out of nowhere. They didn't realize you'd already had 35 years into the game. But the reason why I brought her up is because she had a master's degree or a degree in kinesiology. Mm-hmm. She was an engineer at Lawrence Livermore Labs up in the Bay Area. And her and Tim Swords, who's a very famous Team Houston level 5 Olympic coach, trained some great athletes. they both told me training of the youth is the future. And getting a hold of young athletes before they develop bad habits is a gigantic, important thing
Yes.
in the sport.
Yes.
And I always remembered that. And of course, needless to say, they need to be using the right equipment. So it kind of all goes hand in hand.
It does.
So I wanted to thank you.
Thank you
for coming in.
We'll do more.
We're going to do
Lots
a lot
to discuss.
more. Well, I get fired up when I talk to people that have the passion. That's what keeps me motivated. And I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in to episode 5, American Barbell Unleashed. And hang on, we got a lot more coming.